Hi, I'm George Porter from Scotland, Livingston, just outside Edinburgh, and you're watching the Channa 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 podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of my podcast. We have very special guest today joining all the way from Scotland. We got George Porter joining the podcast. Hi George.
Morning, how are we doing, everyone? Hi, Shanna. Nice to meet you.
I It looks like a very good day today. You have a great weather there, huh?
Well, the sun's out this morning. There's a little bit of cloud in the sky, and that's what summertime is like in Scotland. So we're very pleased that the sun's out and it's nice and bright. And I'm here in my back garden.
Right. So George, can you tell me a little bit about your where you are and how is the situation now with with the pandemic and everything over there?
Yeah, well, it seems to be easing slightly. The restrictions are we have a tiered system here. I don't know what they have in the Philippines, but we're moved down to level two, level zero being when there's nothing happening. But that's only happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks, so it's a lot better. And the sun's shining, the flowers are beginning to bloom, and it feels like spiritually, everything's coming back to life, and everybody's got there's a feel good factor about the place at the moment.
Right. So for musicians, the main thing was the musicians were not able to do perform live. So when did
Yeah,
you last perform live?
I last performed live in February. I think it was February, just before the lockdown here in March. So um, February 19th, I think it would be. Would that be
Right.
right? 2019. Would that be right? No, 20 February 20. So it was a good 15, 16 months ago that we had our last gigs, which has been difficult because, like everyone else, not only you're not playing gigs, but there's no real contact um, with our band members other than some stuff in social media or whatever. But during the lockdown, people, I don't know how you found it, Channa, but a lot of people were quite insular. They just kept themselves to themselves and done the minimum to get by. Um,
Right. Right.
so we had our first rehearsals um, last Sunday in Glasgow. So it was the first time we'd all seen each other and been in the room together, which was quite magical. We thoroughly
Right.
enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So George, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and sort of your earliest memories of music?
Well, we always had music in our house. My parents were big music fans. In fact, my father was in a band when he was young, and it was a kind of a vocal harmony group like the High Lows. So there was always a lot of music in the house, and we used to have one of those. They call them a radiogram. I don't know if you. It's like a
Yeah.
piece of furniture, and it was massive. This thing was huge, and it would sit like in the corner of the house in our living room, like a monument.
Right.
And that was the record player in the radiogram. So there was always music, things like Buddy Holly, Roy Orbison, Neil Sedaka, Perry Como, The Bachelors, The Searchers, The Highlows, and then later on ABBA and the Carpenters. But there was always music playing in the house all the time.
Right. So what was your like? What was the record or artist that really got you interested of you want to pursue music?
Well, I think I've always I don't know where it comes from, but I like things that just please my ears more than any sort of genre
Hmm.
or being cool about music. I think I just if it sounds good to me, then I'm attracted to it. And I've got a vast record collection and music collection. And every record that I've ever bought in my whole life since I was a little kid, I've still got them. I've got
Right.
the first records I ever bought, and it's quite fascinating to look through it all because, which I do from time to time, to see, my God, did I buy that? You know, oof, I must have liked that at the time. So, um, I, yeah, I like music that pleases me. Yeah, the first record that I ever bought was by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, and
Right.
it's a track called December '63. And it's still a big tune today. I don't know if you know that tune. It goes,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Yeah.
what a night, late December back in '63."
Yeah.
So, and it's a great pop tune. It really is. And they were as I've found out looking back the way, quite an amazing band. They made a musical about them, the Jersey Boys, which done very well too. And the first sort of album I bought was by Blondie. It
Mm.
was an album called Parallel Lines. And I had a little part-time job when I was still at school, and I had money in my pocket, and that's what I done. I started buying records and got my own little record player, which I kept in my bedroom. But I never had any ambitions or desires to be in a band at that stage in my life. I was more interested in playing football or soccer,
Right.
as they call it now. So the music thing came to me much later on, a few years down the line.
Right. Right. So, as a singer, like, how did you started? You started as a solo artist, or you were part of bands early on?
Yeah, well. I started as part of bands as a teenager. I had a band called Signs of Fire,
Mm.
um, with another three guys, and that was my sort of first venture into being in a band. And then I had another band after that called Swings and Roundabouts, which was more of a, we only done one gig. It was more of a sort of recording thing because one of the guys was in working as a studio engineer. So we used to get free recording time, but
Right.
only at night. At night, so we would been there from a Friday night to a Saturday morning, or a Saturday night to a Sunday morning, um, making and sort of recording songs, writing and recording songs, which was a completely different experience from playing live and just rehearsing songs. It was just a time spent in the studio crafting and learning, going on that journey and learning how to do that a bit better than you had done previously, Channa. So yeah.
Right. So, when I like heard about you, I went on, like, did some searches about you, and then one thing that came up is that you were part of this Simple Minds tribute. You were part of a couple of bands of tribute bands. Uh,
Yeah.
when did you discover Simple Minds, and why? What's the fascination with Simple Minds?
Um, my fascination or my discovery of Simple Minds goes a long way back, to 1980.
Right.
And my parents had moved home to where we are just now in this part of the world from through in the west. Glasgow, Clydebank is where we came from. And Simple Minds had released a song called I Travel, and I'd went to see them doing a gig in 1981, and I've been to see them ever since. I've been all over the place to see them, and they've impacted my life in a way that I could never have imagined, when I'd went to see them. So a few years later, we'd formed a Simple Minds tribute band, which was about 13 years ago, Channa.
Mm.
And we have been all over the place, up and down the UK, out to Dubai, out to Germany and Holland and Los Angeles.
Wow.
And in fact, I was doing some stuff with the original members, and they'd formed their own band called X Simple Minds. And I was offered to go to the Philippines.
Right.
They went out
Right.
they went out to the Philippines about seven years ago maybe. But I didn't want to go. I, I, I had other things to do, so I turned that down. Um, So we could have met before, you know, if I'd come to the Philippines. And apparently they had a great time there. But our Simple Minds tribute band, Simple Minded, has that's who we were rehearsing with last week. Has been a great, you know, source of just pure joy to get to play the songs that you love and muck about with them and put your own stamp on it. But you can't take it too far away from the original because it's what people want to see, and that's that's been my main sort of live experiences over the past sort of 12, 13 years. So yeah.
Right. So, George, I read, I saw this article that you actually had a heart attack during a performance.
Yes. Thanks for reminding me of that, Channa. Yeah, I did. We were doing a show quite local to. It's not far from my house actually.
Right.
And it's always absolutely packed when we play the Dreadnought in Bathgate. And I had a heart attack on stage, but I didn't know I was having it. And I went off stage, and the guys continued to play. We do an instrumental at the time called "Theme from Great Cities," and I'd went off thinking it was just indigestion, and I was sitting on the stairs trying to get some fresh air, opened the door, and the guy who owns the club had come by, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm just getting a bit of breath of fresh air." He said, "Well, you need to get back. You'll have to go back on stage." He says, "This is sold out. You know, these people are here." Fortunately, we were 2/3 of the way through our set. So I says, "Don't worry, I'm going back on." Not he didn't know I was having a heart attack. No one knew.
Right.
So I went back. I went back on stage, and I says to the guys, I says, "Look, I'll do one more song, and I'm done. I'm not feeling very well." And it turned out I'd had a heart attack. So I was very lucky, very very lucky. Went to the hospital, and yeah, everything's fine. That was about 7 years ago now, and yeah, you know, touch wood, everything's okay.
Right. Right. So you also work with Derek Forbes and Brian Maggie of the original. He's the bass and the drums from Simple Minds, right? So they have their own version, which is the XXX Simple Mind, right?
Yes, that's right. You have done your research, haven't you, Channa? My goodness me. Well, these are the ones I was telling you about earlier on about going to the Philippines with X Simple Minds. I'd done a bit of work with them both, and independently too, because Derek Forbes was doing a show out in Los Angeles, and he asked me to go out and, you know, be the front man for this gig that he had.
Right.
And we went out. Then I'll tell you a funny. It's a true story. They were out there for a week rehearsing, and he got this new band together. And I said, I don't have the time to come out for a week, but what I will do is just tell me what the songs are, and we'll do one rehearsal when we get out. So I arrived into Los Angeles. I flew out and arrived in there straight into rehearsal after flying from Scotland. In this guy's back garden, he had a recording studio, and he had a bar with, you know, with beer on tap and stuff. It was amazing. So we done the show, we done the rehearsal. Next day, done the show, and finished. When the show finished, I get a taxi back to where I was staying, and then I get a taxi first thing in the morning to the airport, and then I flew back. But during after the show, we were in the changing room, and there was a big event in Los Angeles. This old theatre that was owned by, I always forget the guy's name, but he's a Hollywood actor and a comedian. It will come to
Right.
me. But everybody was there. There was a big red carpet, and we were getting pictures taken, and everybody had to go on the red carpet and get pictures and all that taken in the changing room. Now, the changing room was the biggest room I've ever seen for a changing room in my life. Honestly, it was like a grand hall of an ancient manor.
Right.
And there was security guys at the door letting people in and out, and the door opens and the security guy's there, and he says to me, he says, "Excuse me," he says, "these two guys want to come in and say hello. Would it be okay?" And I'm thinking to myself, "What are you asking me for? You know, why are you asking me?" And it's the two guys from Run DMC who are
Wow.
at the door. So I says, I'm like, "Yeah, well, yeah, sure, come in, yeah, come in." So the change room's busy. Everybody's talking after the show, the way it goes. And they come in and they're dressed like Run DMC. They've got the Adidas shoes on, the Adidas, the chains, the hat, the glass. You know, you just know it's Run DMC. And he says to me, in his finest LA talk, he says, "Hey man, it's so good to see you. The show was great. And we were here in 1984 when you played at the Hollywood Bowl, and we haven't seen you guys since. So we thought we'd come back and say hello." And I'm thinking to myself, they think that I'm Jim Kerr from Simple Minds. And I says, so you're stuck in that moment, Channa, where you've got this bubble above your head like a cartoon that says,
Right.
will I tell them or will I not? So I decided I wouldn't tell them because I didn't know where the story would go from there. And I just went, "Oh, that's great. That was a great show." And I know it was a great show because I have the bootleg cassette from,
Right.
because I'm a huge Simple Minds fan. So I had all that stuff and I was going, "Oh, it was a great show." And I'm shouting to Derek Forbes, "Come up, Derek, come here." And he's going, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "Well, it's," I'm thinking to myself, "Well, it's obviously bloody Run DMC. Anyone can see that." So he came up and rescued me and I got away. And the point of the story is, and I tell all my friends, it's not so much now, but back then, that Run DMC have actually met me. And that's a fact.
Right.
So that's one of the many sort of stories I've had. But we have, I've worked with Brian McGee on a couple of things because I have a new song coming out after Taking on the World, which we'll speak about later on. That Brian McGee played the drums on. I got him. He very kindly agreed to come in and lay down a drum track for my next song, which is called Rain, which will be out later on in the year. So we recorded both these tracks in October last year, when there was a bit of a break. But Brian has also appeared in a couple of videos that we've made for our other recording sort of project called Empires That Dance,
Right.
where we rework old Simple Minds classics and into a fashion that we kind of like. You know, we reimagine them, if you like, for a want of a better word. And Brian's appeared in a couple of our videos as well as in a cameo kind of role. So
Right. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Empires That Dance because I actually watched a couple of those videos. I really love this one, the boys from Brazil that you guys did, like with the Freddie Mercury mustaches.
yeah. Well, Brian McGee plays the drums in that. He's the drummer, and we I'm glad you like it. We made the video as a real tongue in cheek, you know, as a a bit of fun. But some people thought we were taking ourselves too seriously and missed the whole irony of the moustaches and
Right.
the glasses. So we wanted to pay respect to Giorgio Moroder, who has been a big influence on Empires That Dance and the kind of stuff that we do, because we wanted to, particularly with Boys from Brazil, we wanted to take that track and make it disco.
Right.
The original track, which is a beautiful piece by Simple Minds from 1981, and sort of inject some new life into it, and also do something different with the video, because when you record the song, Channa, and you make the video, they're two separate items, and the secret really is to try and make them as one. become
Right.
one. Because that's really how people engage with the track. So if you make a video, it has to kind of you, you hope that it's going to make sense. But I'm glad you enjoyed it with the moustaches. I still wore my moustache this morning if I'd have known that.
Right. uh, because I feel like I actually listen to that track, and I actually listen to the original as well. I feel that
Right.
you guys are sort of bringing it back, or bringing it to this era with that way that you, especially like also the new Gold Dream that you recorded. I feel I kind of like your version than the Simple Minds version actually.
Oh, don't say that, Channa. Don't say that. Well, again, it's very difficult to take. Simple Minds are a band that are precious
Right.
to millions of people. They really are, and they've got a very loyal following. They're a band who I love. I really love Simple Minds, and they are. I'm just saying, people are become very precious about taking one of the tracks and reworking it. So it's really important that
Mm.
if you're going to do it, then you have to do something sufficiently different to the original, rather than just making a copy of what we would do in a tribute band.
Right.
But we had a great time making that as well, because we recorded it with different people, and it's one of the things is my co-conspirator in Empires that Dance is a guy called Andy Innes, and Andy lives at the other end of the UK. He maybe lives about 400 or 500 miles away from me, and we do everything by the internet and phone calls and whatever, and then we get together and record, and then we make a video. So it's all
Right.
done quite remotely, but it's we both Andy and I surround ourselves with people who are supremely talented, superly talented people, who bring a lot to the sort of vision that we have for Empires That Dance, I guess. And we're going to be releasing another song in the next few months.
Right.
The song's finished, it's recorded, and that will be coming out. I'm not entirely sure, but it'll be out in the next sort of 10 weeks. We would hope we're putting it out there, so you can see how that turns out for you, Channa.
Right.
You like that? But let me just finish on it, because the new Gold Dream, we worked with a guy called Gustavo, who produced the track, and we went for something that was going to be slightly different. We wanted different influences. We sat down and we said, I wonder if how Killing Joke would write New Gold Dream. That's a UK band, a sort of punk band,
Right.
and that was what we wrote down in a bit of paper. Well, I went in and says, look, what about this? I've got this idea, and you take it off in a different direction to see how it's going to work. Sometimes it doesn't work, but for that one, it kind of worked. And then we worked with a guy called Martin Possinger, who made the video for Boys from Brazil, and Martin's from Germany. He's a big Simple Minds fan also, and we've made quite a few videos with Martin. We made the New Gold Dream one. We went to Germany and shot that in Germany with Martin,
Right.
and he's another super talented guy, Martin Possinger, and he's got a sidekick called John Proven, and John lives in Belgium, so it's a very European kind of collaborative of ideas that we have. But the one thing that runs through us all is a love for Simple Minds.
Right. 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 Uh, I just want to ask you, like, so have you actually during, like, I know you've probably been to so many Simple Mind shows. Uh, have you ever met Jimka?
Yeah, I met him not so long ago actually. We were running, putting together a Simple Minds fan convention, and which was going to be in Glasgow. where Simple Minds come from. That's the original city, is Glasgow, and the COVID has made that not possible. We've had to rearrange it. And we were doing a big thing for charity with it, and people were coming from all over the world. People were coming from America, Australia, all over Europe, all over the UK. They were coming for the Simple Minds fan convention, which we would have Derek Forbes and his band playing. Our band, Simple Minded, would be playing. We would have the original manager Bruce Finlay from Simple Minds coming to do a talk, and we were having a charity auction. So we went along. Jim kindly invited us down to the studio where they were rehearsing, and had given us a whole load of original items for this charity auction. So yeah, no, he knows what we do with Simple Minded. He knows what we do with Empires at Dance. He's commented on a few of the things we've done. So yeah, that's a rubber stamp from the highest of high, really.
Right. Yeah. So George, I actually listened to your original solo work as well. I really I want to ask about this song. The first song that you had, I think it's in 2017. Life's too short. I really love the concept of the music video. Like you had that music video, you had this Charlie Chaplin quote at the beginning, which really resonated with me, especially what's happening right now, because it said that we should live the happiness of others, not the misery of others, right? We should always. So that's
I think
like
so.
that.
Always look in the bright side of life. Always try to be positive, because when things are not good in people's lives, it just means that they're going to get better. That's what it means. It just there's only so far down you go before you start bouncing back, and that's the kind of the attitude, and that's the whole thing about life's too short. Life's too short to worry about things that you can't affect. There's just things that happen in your life that you have to just ride the storm, and there's nothing you can do about that. And don't think that it's just only you that it happens to, because it happens to everyone. Like I said, Martin Possinger is a big Charlie Chaplin fan, the guy who made the video, and we shot that in Belgium and in Glasgow. Him and John, and Martin, as I say, is a big Charlie Chaplin fan, and it was his idea to. There was something with this quote that resonated with him about the lyrics of "Life's Too Short," and that's what I mean. When you surround yourself with people who are super talented, you know something else comes out of that. So I can't take any credit for that, not at all. That's all down to Martin Possinger, and I'm so pleased that he has done it, and I'm so pleased that you've picked up on it as well. So it's went from Germany to Scotland and out to the Philippines, and that's how it's worked in it. So it's music's a very powerful medium for delivering messages, whether it be music, whether it be about just a simple love song, or the Charlie Chaplin thing, or whether it's a political message, or whether it's a mental health message. It's a great medium for people to take things in. So that was down to Martin.
Right. Yeah, because the video, why I probably it resonated me with is that in the video, like kids or people writing different cities around the world, like you had Aleppo, you have New York, and all this. So it kind of gives me the idea that everyone in the world is actually going through the same thing, right? Same pain, same troubles, same. So
what had happened during that time, there had been a terrible tragedy had happened in Paris, where these gunmen had went in and shot all these people in a theatre, shot them dead, as a political sort of jihadi thing. Terrible, just absolutely shocking. And we were in Belgium, and we were going to see Simple Minds. They were playing a concert the day after, and we thought maybe the concert's going to be cancelled. But we were with John and his wife Fian and Martin and my friend from Scotland, Gordon Macri. We and his wife to be Angelique. We'd all went across, and my girlfriend as well, Maria. We were all there in Belgium to go to see the singing. I'd suggested to John. I says, why don't we get some balloons and we'll write hope on it, and there'll be our balloons of hope for this situation. And the young girl in the video is her name's Marie, and that's John Proven's daughter. She's a lovely wee girl. She's growing up now. I've seen a photograph of her just recently, but we tied those balloons to our belt straps, and we walked into the concert, and somebody's taking some pictures, and out these thousands of people, you can see our balloons above everybody, and it's just,
Right.
and that's what it was all about. It was all about your consciousness, that everybody was looking for a bit of hope. This sounds awfully serious, doesn't it? I don't mean it to be serious, but I'm just explaining it to you. But these balloons made it into the video as well, because the balloons are meant to be your consciousness,
Right.
that
Right.
you have all the time, that nobody ever gets to see what you're thinking about, and that was to represent that the balloons of hope. So it didn't matter. There's always my God, I sound like a right serious miserable man here, Channa. I'm not liking this.
Right.
So, but you
Uh,
did ask, and that's where that comes from, yeah.
yeah. So George, one thing that especially like even I went through when this pandemic happened, because I used to travel a lot, go outside, and I'm always outside. But what happened when the pandemic started earlier? It's like I was like I have to stay home, and I couldn't go anywhere. I the first couple of months, probably the first month or second month, I was kind of feeling the depression. I really was in depression because it was a
Yeah,
complete so what
yeah,
I what a lot of people were not talking about, especially during this pandemic, a lot of people are going through the mental health problems, and all
yep,
these things, all these sort of things
yeah,
were coming back to them because they couldn't reach out to their friends, they couldn't meet their families, and all these things. So I know that the latest single that you released, Taking on the World, you were kind of tackling the mental health aspect as well, right? Can you tell me about the song Taking on the World?
Well, Taking on the World was a song originally written by a Glasgow Scottish band called Gun, and it was released in 1989, and uh, you know, an amazing first album, one of the best first albums of any Scottish artist, in my opinion. Honestly, amazing first album. Just teenagers writing songs like that is just,
Mm,
it's just, it's extraordinary. Um, but who the lyrics for "Taking on the World" was written by teenagers, and they were going out to take on the world as young musicians, almost like gunslingers with guitars strapped on their back, if you like.
mm,
And the song, since I've heard it, it has never left me. I've always went back to the song, and I've always loved the song. And a couple of years ago, we were doing a sound check, and our keyboard player at the time, Stuart Clyde, and I started jamming this song during the sound check, and it just felt so good. I said to Stuart that I'm going to record that myself, and would you play the piano on it for me or do it? And he says, yeah, of course. So once we were in and recorded the song, and it came together really quickly. Last year was, like you were saying, was a tough year for many people, and
mm,
particularly, men are not very good at displaying their emotions or saying that we're not feeling so well. Like you just have there just now. A lot of men don't have the courage to do that, Channa. And I don't think, well, here in Scotland, I don't know what it's like in the Philippines or in other parts, but I can only speak, for myself. And the lyrics had taken on a whole new meaning
Right.
to me. That you're holding out your hand and you're falling, and there's nobody listening, and they're beautiful lyrics, but they just took on this whole new meaning during lockdown for me. And I wasn't going to be releasing that. I wanted to record the song, but the recording had went so well, and the reaction to my trusted friends were like, well, you need to put that out. You have to release that. So we decided that we would release it in conjunction with Mental Health Awareness Week in the UK, which was in May, a few weeks back. But it's got it's the reason that you and I are talking today. That song, and because of the mental health, and it's I've got a young son, and he's starting out in his life, and I didn't want him to think that he had to keep his mental health as a secret.
Right.
Like the majority of people don't talk about it. They just go on with it, and I just wanted to do that for him and say, hey, you don't have to keep your mental health a secret. Let's just talk about it, how you feeling, and it's it's okay not to be okay, as you say.
Yeah.
So that's what happened, and there's been such a great response and reaction to that, and people are very, very interested, because I think the lockdown has accelerated mental health in Scotland. I don't know. Has it accelerated mental health in the Philippines, Janet? I don't know. You're better placed for that than me. But yeah, it's accelerated it, and I think there's a lot of people who are strong who've had some mental health issues. It wouldn't surprise me during that lockdown, just because their routine has been taken away, and like you can't get out, you can't see people. You were just describing what you're kind of the thing about lockdown. I mean, how did it impact you?
Yeah, especially like because the first couple of months it took me so much time to settle into this new sort of this new normal, because I wasn't really used to that. But
Yep.
it really helped, actually, as I said, sharing this with my with my family, with my friends, talking
Yeah.
about it. That really helped. And I think,
Yes.
as you said, I think in a way the pandemic sort of exposed this as well, that we should talk about this. We shouldn't be like, it's not a stigma to feel
Yeah.
bad, right? Something, it's not stigma. You should talk about it. So I think it's, in a way, pandemic probably helped to expose this thing that
Sure.
otherwise we would not talk about, right? So
Yeah. Well, I hope that's going to be the case. But I said to Maria, my girlfriend, I said it's going to be a long winter here in Scotland, because we don't have a lot of daylight during the winter. There's a lot of darkness here, and that's going to have a huge impact on people, particularly when they're not getting out. Staying in and having, been. They don't want people to go out and socialise and mingle and mix. Combined with the winters that we have here in Scotland, is a recipe really for mental health issues.
right, right. Yeah, I actually I never been to UK, but I've been to Ireland. That's the closest I've been, and
Right, how was that for you? Did you enjoy that?
yeah, I really enjoyed Dublin, because Dublin is like such a cultural city, and there's so much to see, and really
Yeah.
nice buildings, and I really enjoyed. I was there for like 3 weeks, and I really had a great time. But
Wow.
I was so confused because you would see the sun at like 10 p.m. You will still have sun, right? Sometimes, like, it was so confusing for me.
Well, we see we have that here just now. I think the longest day is a couple of weeks away, but it's still light here at 10:30 at night.
Right.
11. And the further the further north that you go, um, it only gets dark for like half an hour. Some days are just 24 hours light. So it's up in the north of Scotland in the islands. So it's it can be it's even confusing for a Scotsman. It's not just you, Channa, for the Philippines. It's
Right.
confusing. It's confusing for us all. Our body clock.
Right. So George, what's happened? What's upcoming? I think you earlier kind of mentioned you have a new song. So can you tell me what's happening? What's your plan for the next couple of months or the rest of the year?
For the next couple of months, we'll be starting back to rehearsing with a view to doing some gigs later on in the year. What has actually happened is it's been very busy with people inquiring about putting our band back out live all over the UK and Scotland. So we think it's going to be really, really busy for us, and we're looking forward to that. We're just looking forward to getting back out and playing live. Empires at Dance will be releasing a new single in a few weeks' time. We've done all the artwork. We've recorded the song, and we're speaking about making the video, which should come together, quite quickly. And then I think Rain will be my next release. It should be out, I would think, September.
Right.
That's what I'm planning for it to be out in September, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But the Taking on the World is really, it's went so well, Channa, and like I said to you earlier on, it's the reason that you and I are having this chat here today, because of that. So yeah, and Rain's a different song completely to Taking on the World in terms of the dynamic of it. It's a different thing altogether, and I won't say any more than that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that coming out too.
Right. So George, what's your message to the people who support you, listen to your music?
What's my message? My message is thank you for all your support, and thank you to. I want to say thanks to Catherine from CJ Promotion. She's an amazing lady. She works so hard, and thanks to you, Channa, for having us on today. Because if it wasn't for people like yous, then we would have no outlet and platforms in which to come on and talk like this. So I'm very, very grateful for you taking your precious time and give me your precious time to speak with us today, and to get my music out in the Philippines. It's just it's hard to get my head around that from my back garden here in Scotland. So my message is just peace and love to everybody, and everybody take it easy one day at a time. And as long as we've all got 10 fingers and 10 toes, we're doing okay.
Right. Yeah. So George, so this podcast is somehow it's quite famous in South Africa. There's a lot of people listening to it in South Africa. So
Sure.
definitely you will get more listeners on your song from South Africa, because a lot of people will see this podcast in South Africa.
Well, don't be mistaken, because the sun's shining in Scotland this morning. Although there's a bit of white cloud there, that's what we call summer. So Billy Connolly is a very famous comedian in Scotland, and he once said, and I repeat this all the time to people, and in fact I quote it. You see, you can always tell when it's summertime in Scotland because the rain is warmer.
Right.
And that's so true. So hello to everybody in South Africa, and the Philippines, and whoever else is listening in. I'm George Porter, and my new single is called Taking on the World.
Right. So George, thank you for joining the podcast. I really enjoy talking to you. So have a great day ahead. And
thank you very much, Channa.
Good luck with all your plans and looking forward to the
Thank you.
new songs. Thank you, George.
Thank you. Cheers.